Queen's Lead podcast. I'm your host, Amy Singleton, and as a child of the 80s, I'd love to say Queens rule, but they don't. Queens lead. Being a queen means you are worthy to be a leader of people. The guests on our show do exactly that. They are leading the way in their businesses, families, and communities. They're taking their rightful place in the spotlight, leading and inspiring the developing queens in all of us. Welcome to the Queen's Lead podcast.
Today, we welcome Megan Rogers. She is the owner of One Less Stress Professional Organizing. She is a mother and a wife, born in Tuttle, Oklahoma, and currently lives in Guthrie, Oklahoma. Welcome, Megan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy. I was really excited about today.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to have you here, and it is so important for us to shine a light on the women that are creators and influencers and the doers of this world. It's time for us to assume our position in leadership and show what leadership can really look like and how we can really impact life. So thank you so much for being here. We're excited to hear your story. So tell us a little bit about Megan Rogers.
Well, like you said, I'm a wife and mother, and I have two kids. They're 10 and 7. And I just really love organizing. I have all my life, even as a kid, whenever I would play, it was more of like styling and creating scenarios than it was like really playing with Barbies or toys or different things. And so like as I grew up and became a teenager, that looked like hanging out at friends' houses and cleaning their bedrooms or organizing their closets, and their parents loved me.
You were their parents' best friend, not their best friend, or both.
Over anytime, that's great. And then, as I became an adult, and would do it for friends and family here and there, and loved keeping my own little home, very nice and neat and organized, until I got married and had kids. And then it was, like, oh, all bets are off. And that was learning a new normal. But we have lived in Oklahoma most of our lives, and did a short stint in Nashville, and absolutely loved our time there in Tennessee. And now we are in Guthrie. We've been here about a year and a half. And we just absolutely love it. We love the small town feel and the community and how active most people are here in this community, and it's really nice.
That's awesome. So tell me, other than just your interest in organizing, what led you to becoming the owner of One Less Stress Professional Organizing? What did that journey look like?
Yeah, so my background is in psychology and sociology. I have degrees in both of those areas. And before having kids, I worked in administrative type roles, and really enjoyed that. And whenever my children were born, I decided to stay home. And I did several different like direct sales, marketing type things that got me out of the house in the evenings and still let me have that Megan time that was really important at being something other than, mom. And after I love the being with people, but I wasn't so great at the selling of things. And so I eventually decided that I wanted to pursue something that I could offer people out of my own knowledge base. And that's whenever organizing kind of came into play. It was actually given to me in a dream, and because it wasn't something I remembered that I was good at, most kids are innately good at something, like they gravitate towards certain things. And I was trying to figure out what that thing was for me. I still knew that I had that ability, but I didn't remember that it was something that innately was in me. And so that dream revealed that to me. And so I started researching all of the things. And that's whenever it started coming into fruition in the fall of 2017.
All right. So it's been a good 5 years now.
Yeah. Yep. 5 years
Talk
this
about
year.
actually following your dreams. Literally
Yes.
following your dreams. I love it.
Yes. I love that part too.
That's amazing. So you've been doing this since 2017?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's amazing.
2017. And it was just me for the first few years. And then in 2020, I started adding other women that work with me on my team. And so now we're a team of 5 organizers.
Wow, that's awesome. How was, I've spoke to a lot of business owners that started up just right before or just just during COVID. So I can only imagine it would seem like your business would increase with those people staying home. And were you quite overwhelmed during that time?
It kind of did. We closed for 3 months in the beginning. And then when we got to reopen in June, it did have a pretty big influx. After that, with people being home and being in their spaces and either have tried to do some organizing on their own and just not getting the result that they wanted, or they were now working from home either for the foreseeable future, or even some companies were switching to fully working from home forever. Now they needed to create that space at home that they could separate work and home life. So there was a lot of that. And then the other thing that coupled on top of that was, I believe it was August or September of 2020, the Home Edit came out with their first show. And actually that might be 2021. It was the Home Edit and the Marie Kondo series, where they were very close together. So that on top of people being home more, just really exploded a lot of existing organizing businesses. So that was definitely a momentum period for us.
Yeah, I can imagine that helping people get organized and creating those separate but same spaces was a huge need, or still is a huge need for our community. So what would you say is for another woman that's looking to find that balance and have that, like you said, that Megan time, but at the same time wants to start their own thing? What's one piece of advice that you would give them?
Really, it's that going back to what your core, not values per se, but your core thing is that you're really good at trying to figure out what it was that you naturally gravitated towards as a child, as a teenager, or even young adulthood, whenever you felt yourself coming into your own and realizing, hey, I'm really good at this thing, or listening to other people who are speaking into you and letting you know, like, hey, you're really good at this. What do people ask you to do for them over and over again? Or different people, if they're all saying the same things, like, pay attention to that, listen to that, and know that most likely you can take whatever that thing is and turn it into a profit source for yourself.
I love that. I love that so much, because I can only imagine being a young kid who is not into the Barbies or the Legos or whatever it is the other kids are into. Would you say that this skill or ability that you recognized over and over and finally realized is your thing, was it something that you may have thought of as a detriment when you were young, or maybe you were kind of awkward about, like, I like to organize, I'm 12?
Yeah, right. No, it definitely was probably something that was awkward. And especially being, younger, like under the age of 12, whenever kids still had play dates together and things, like, I didn't want to play in that normal way that kids play. And I wanted to have things the way they should be, right? Everything in its place.
Yes.
So it was, it can be something absolutely that stands out, that's different about you, that you may feel like is awkward. But it's going to wind up being your gift that you can share with the world. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That resonates with me so much. I have just recently, maybe in the last year, began to embrace who I am and those things that I felt like held me back. Amy's too much for people. She's too loud. She's too wild. She's not for everyone. Nope, she's not.
Right.
But now in my 40s, I can finally embrace and recognize that. So I love that you've come to that place early. At least it seems early, and you seem pretty young to me.
Recognizing that it was a good thing, definitely came in my 30s.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But yes, yeah, for sure. And that is something like I really admired about you whenever I met you the first time. I was like, oh my gosh, she's got so much energy and she's so confident. And I'm like, that's amazing. I love that. So your personality definitely like is very unique to you and makes people remember you, and that's great.
Oh, thank you so much for that compliment. I can't tell you how long it took me to finally embrace that it's okay to be only for that small percentage of the population, because there's a lot of people out there. So what's one thing that you wish you'd known before you started this business or entrepreneurial journey?
Gosh, one thing.
There's a million things you wish you could have known. Right?
I think to ask for help, and that it's okay to delegate. As I think a lot of business owners are this way. A lot of entrepreneurs have that hard time letting go of control, but especially as an organizer, I'm like, nope, I have all my ducks and they're in my rows, and this is the way that I like them. But learning and knowing your strengths and weaknesses so that you can be like, okay, this part of this business is not my jam, and so I'm going to outsource this. I'm going to, hire an employee and delegate this task, whatever that is. Like, if I would have known that in the beginning, it would have saved me a lot of headache. So that's been a huge thing.
That's awesome. Being able to recognize that, I think as we enter our 30s and on into the 40s, we can finally stop and realize, I could buy a life insurance policy online, but why don't I talk to someone who knows all about life insurance, or all about, I could organize my pantry, but I don't really know the first thing about it. I can hire Megan to come in and actually knock it out with excellence. And, she's been doing this since she was like a child, literally.
Absolutely.
Yes. So what would you say is one of the biggest challenges you face, either in your industry or in the business?
Biggest challenges. It's probably one of the things that I like to outsource. And that's why is marketing for me. So I am not, I'm not really good, or it doesn't innately come out of me to talk about myself or my business. And so learning to network, learning how to market, learning those things have been the biggest challenges business wise that I've had to overcome. And the biggest part of overcoming them was just delegating them for me, because there was so much time and energy spent in trying to learn, and it was still, fumbling along in that. So that's probably the biggest one. In that way.
Yeah. It's so important to be able to hand those things off that you once you replace yourself, you take that level up and level up over and over again. It becomes a little more difficult, but when we create those partnerships with the people you're bringing onto your team, having those aligned values is so important. Yes. It sounds like that's a really important thing in your life too, is having the same values as those you serve.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So tell me about a client that you have helped. Tell me the story of kind of how that went.
Oh, it's really hard to pick one. So I think one of the ones, and she has previously given me an okay to share her story, and
Great.
We'll call her Lisa. Um, she was a lady who came to me in I think 2018. And she just was looking for like help with her pantry before her daughter graduated from college. They were having a big party in their home, and their pantry is always open and in the middle of the kitchen. So she's like, it needs to look as nice as the rest of my space for this event. So we came and she had the exact thing in mind that she wanted as far as the look. And so we were able to create kind of that country chic mixed material look for her. And we cleaned everything out and got rid of all the old things. And every single pantry I've ever been in has at least one trash bag full of expired items. So don't feel bad if you're in the same boat. But so we cleared all that out and we're able to put in all her design pieces and put everything back and labeled so that anyone who needed to, if she sent someone into the pantry, could come and find those things easily. And she felt good about having a large amount of people seeing that part of her home as well. And then since then, we've gotten to work through her entire home, and we've touched every space. I've gotten to go to her workplace with her and work in her workplace. And she is just a really super busy lady who has such a heart to help other people that she doesn't set aside that time for herself. And I think that's where a lot of our clients fall into. And then they need those nice, efficient systems for themselves at home. And so that's where we step in and are able to create that for them as well. And now we get to go every 3 to 6 months and do a little reset for her and refresh. And so that's what we really enjoy doing, is creating that relationship with our clients so that we can touch all the spaces, create the way they want it to feel for them in their home, make their homes work for them instead of them having to work for their homes and try and find things, or they're not going out and rebuying things that they had because they couldn't find the original thing. And make that really flow really well for them and become a well-oiled machine so that they can keep living their busy lifestyles, having their kids, in activities and taking care of all their work responsibilities and loving their people instead of worrying about what's going on in their homes. So,
yes. So it sounds like to me that you're not just selling organization, you're selling a feeling of peace and organization, of knowing where that thing is. And not just, what I'm hearing is you're not just coming in and organizing it your way, you're taking feedback from your client. Do a lot of people come to you with a concept or an idea, or are some people like, I don't know, just fix it?
Right. So it's a little half and half. Some people are going to come and be like, oh, I've already seen all this great stuff on Pinterest and I would really like to recreate this. And so we work within that if they already know. And then the other side of that is they don't know, it's just chaos, right? And so they need help creating those systems. And maybe it's not the most aesthetically pleasing, thing in the world to look at, but something that works for them. So we have in our consultations, we work through a questionnaire and kind of like a workflow with our clients so that we're determining how they and their family live in that space, how they use the kitchen, maybe Saturday morning pancakes are their special thing. And so we're going to create something that's special just for that. So it's all in one spot and they can grab it and go. Or they have spaghetti dinner every, Friday night, or whatever's specific to them. And then making that system unique to them and how they live in the space, instead of just putting in our, one size fits all organizing plan. Because if I do it, or if we approach it in a way where we're just putting our idea of organizing in their home, it won't stick. But if we create it in a way that they're already living in their space and the way that their brains work and see things, then that's going to be a more long-lasting system for them.
So That's so interesting. I love that you're creating it to where it's something they can maintain on their own, and or with your continuing services, you can come back in and kind
Yes.
of revamp and make sure it stays the way you set it up in the first place.
Yeah.
Do you find that there's a lot of psychology? I mean, you said you have a background in sociology and psychology, and I think we've all made ourselves feel a little better about our spaces by consuming a couple of episodes of Hoarders from time to time. So we've all seen the psychology that goes behind the mess. Have you dealt with some hoard type situations or things that involved major psychology that you got to use your background and your current
Right.
business to help solve that problem?
Yeah. So there's always a little bit, at least, psychology and everything, because people hold on to things for different reasons, whether it's, sentimental, it's been handed down, it's been gifted, and they feel about getting rid of it. Um, and there's those little pieces of psychology in that we talk through with them of like why it's okay to go ahead and let go if it's not serving them, if it's not like if anything has a negative feeling or you feel judged or
Mm-hmm.
obligated, like this is your permission right here to say, Megan said I can let this go and not feel bad about it.
Right.
But we have worked with one true hoarder. A lot of people use the word hoarding very freely,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very different from, like, I mean, obviously we've all caught an episode or two of Hoarders. You see the real deal. um
Yeah.
and there is a difference between what you see on that show and um what is a true hoarder in real life, and then what some people will casually say, oh, they're I think they might be a hoarder, or I have hoarding tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done one. It was early in my career, and I learned a lot. um, so if there is a true hoarding situation or experience, or like someone feels that way about themselves or a family member, the first thing that we always are going to share is that, like, please seek a therapist or a counselor or somebody who can walk through the emotional side of
Mm-hmm.
that with them, who is licensed to do so, before like inviting someone in to help. um, there's just so much more there to unpack than
Mm-hmm.
what we um the little bit that we have um to really dive deep and get past that. So um that is that it's a whole thing. But yes, the more everyday reasons of why people hold on to things, and um getting through, like, the way we shop, the way we think about our clothing, having um we love working in women's closets in particular,
Mm.
because the way we dress and our clothing speaks of how we want to present ourselves to the world. And it's in our confidence and how we put ourselves out there. And so we don't want people's closets filled with clothes in a range of 3 sizes, or things that need repair, or anything like that, because when you face that closet every day, um, you're met with negative first thing in the morning, and whether you
Mm.
realize it or not, it's coming into your subconscious of like, oh well, that section of clothes I can't fit in, or this thing is, and
You're
it's
talking to
not.
me. Okay, you're talking to me.
And
Okay.
like, we absolutely understand, because we have all been there. But we want your closet to be a place where you walk in and feel confident and know that everything that's in there, whatever you're going to grab that day, you feel great in it, you look great in it, you are meeting the world with confidence, and it's not going to hinder you in your day.
Oh man, I love that. There's so much more involved than I
Yeah.
would have ever expected. So one of my questions was going to be, which you kind of already hit, but what is one of the what's a myth or a common misconception
Mm.
about your profession that you'd like to just debunk right here in front of everybody?
um Gosh. So I'll have two. I'll have a quick one and then a little bit longer one. So the quick
Hit
one
me
is
with it.
it's not all rainbows. Okay, that's the first really quick one. That's not what organizing is. But the biggest one, and I'll probably get a little bit emotional about it because that's just who I am. But is you are not disorganized. Like as a person, so often people categorize themselves because of what they've read or they've been told or they've heard over and over again that they're disorganized or they can't be organized or they're a mess or anything like that. And it's just not true. Every person has their own way of organizing. Like your brain organizes in a specific way. And so you as a person are not disorganized, you just organize differently. And maybe we haven't discovered the way that you organize yet. So when I say we haven't discovered, I don't mean like as a society, but either through, self-exploration or along with somebody figuring out how your brain sees things, how your brain processes things, that's the way you are organized. So that may be you're a very visual person. And so whenever you can't put things in a wooden bin and close a cabinet door on it because then it doesn't exist to you anymore, or it's extremely difficult to relocate. So, using things like taking doors off cabinets, taking doors off closets, using clear bins. Maybe we don't file fold for you because that doesn't make sense to your brain. And so throwing pajamas in a crazy mix sometimes works for some people, and that's fine. It's finding the way that your brain works to create a system to organize in that way to make it easy for your brain to make decisions. And so you are organized as a person. It's just figuring out the way that your brain sees things and uncovering that organization.
I love that. So much of that goes into your psychology and sociology background. The more of that, and this is something I work on constantly all the time, not to say, oh, I'm too much, or I'm this, or I'm that, or I'm disorganized. It's just so reinforcing to our brains to say those things, but to change that language and have you available there to say, no, we just haven't figured out how you do it yet. And that's why I'm here, to be your guide and help you to uncover those things. How valuable. I mean, so you're not just organizing people's pantries. I mean, it's like you're organizing their lives and their souls.
I have had one client say that to me.
I bet. Yeah. I mean, that's a very gratifying thing to bring someone in that you think, all right, well, they're going to help me get my pantry organized and leave. When you leave, they've got a whole new perspective on life.
Yes. Yeah. And of course it's as open as the client is to that. Because sometimes people they're like, I just need you to like make this drawer like super organized and have all the labels. And so like we run the gamut. We see clients of all those different things, but it is extra special to us whenever that client trusts us in such a way to let us see that part of them and speak into it, and then we leave that client with a completely different understanding of how they can live a more organized life just the way they are.
That's awesome. You're not trying to change them. You're just trying to work with them and the way they do things. Do you find that a lot of people that come to you are embarrassed, or they struggle to reach out because they're embarrassed about their spaces and what they've got in front of them?
Yeah, a lot of times. There was even one in particular, I think it was just during the consultation, and she had showed us the rest of the home, and we'd gotten to her bedroom, and bless her heart, she was so overwhelmed to show that part of her home to somebody. And so we did a quick breathing exercise. And we when we breathed out, we twisted the knob and opened the door. And so, I mean, some people it is extremely difficult, but we're absolutely not here to judge. We have seen all levels. We've seen the worst of the worst. We've found all the things that people could ever find in a home. So we we're not going to judge you in any way, shape, or form. We're not going to make you feel small for the current state of things. We just want to help you make it better. So
Yeah. What would you say is the most common ask that you, or the most common project that you undertake?
Common project. I would say kitchens and master closets are pretty close, pretty close together.
And once you get that kitchen or that master closet, do you find that the clients are going, all right, now what else can you organize for me?
Yes. More often than not, absolutely. They're like, oh, I have this extra room, or the garage, or sometimes even the attic, or their kids' room, or anything like that, a linen closet. It's, what can we do over here? Do you have ideas for this? And then yes, that winds up what happens a lot, is that we keep working throughout the space.
Yeah. I would think that, initially I would have thought that your ideal client was kind of a young or middle-aged woman, mom, busy professional, but it sounds like it could be mitts, garages. Who is your ideal client, and who else can you serve that we may not think of?
Sure. So our ideal client is overwhelmed moms. That's, we have all been in that spot. All the women that work with me, we've been in that, young kids, the house is a wreck, no matter what we do, there's no time for anything, completely overwhelmed. And so that's our main place where we normally start with people, but it has literally run from, like a 25-year-old college, like fresh out of college student, let's see, like 35-year-old male who wanted to get his garage in order while his wife was out of town. That was a fun one. He had a honey-do, and he hired someone else to do that.
That's a smart man right there. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, men listening here, listen up. Do your wife a favor and call Megan when she gives you that honey-do list. And that is genius.
Yep. And then all the way up to let's see, I think she's 85, an 85-year-old lady. Oh no, I'm sorry, we had a 91-year-old. So we've worked in assisted living homes. We have worked with older clients who know that downsizing is coming, and so they want to go through the stuff themselves before it becomes on their family shoulders. We have helped with people after medical issues like strokes and surgery. We have helped after deaths, just all kinds of things. And we do enjoy serving all of those people. And it's really neat to experience their stories and different things that people wind up sharing with you during that time.
Yeah, I'll bet it's a really vulnerable time for someone to hire you during those transitional periods. But what a perfect time to hire you to come in when you're moving, packing up, or unpacking.
Absolutely.
So that sounds like realtors would be an excellent referral partner for you.
Yes, they absolutely can be.
Yeah, for sure. So what's some free tips you can give our listeners here on something they can do on their own in maybe a small space, a solution that they may be able to carry out on their own before they take the leap to work with you?
Yeah. So the biggest tip is like just starting with 10 or 15 minutes and tackling one drawer. Like, let's, do the junk drawer in the kitchen, and we take everything out of that drawer and we categorize it so that we have like all the pens and pencils in one place, and the coupons and the little things that wind up in the drawer that are pieces to something else.
You've been in my kitchen today, I think.
every kitchen across the world, it's there. But then seeing like, okay, I've got this many of that and this many of this, and I really don't need 10 half-used pens. Let's pare those down. Like maybe we'll keep 3 in that drawer. And you can do that across the different categories. So once you move from junk drawer to utensil drawer, even towels and pot holders, we normally wind up with way more of whatever it is in that space than we actually need, because we just add things to our spaces instead of taking out the old. Because like we went and bought that new thing because we didn't like, or the one that we have wasn't functioning well. But then we forget to take that old one out. So seeing how many you have of each thing, paring down, and then if you need some kind of drawer insert or something, adding that back in, and then organizing into the different compartments. Drawer organizers are your best friend. Whether it's a clothing drawer or it's a kitchen drawer or a bathroom drawer, having those little homes so that, okay, this is the battery section, or this is like the ponytail holder section. Once you've outgrown that, it's a trigger to say, okay, I need to go through these and throw out the ones that aren't working anymore, or it's empty. Now it's time to get some more. And that's the big thing behind having those dividers, is creating a space that says, okay, when I reach this max, now it's time to do something about it.
That's so relatable. I just bought some new plates, and when it came time to pull the old plates that I hated and were mismatched and chipped out, I went, should I save a couple of these just in case? And like, why do we think that way? I just bought a new set. Give them to the kid or whatever. Donate them to someone.
Absolutely. Pass them on
common.
Somewhere they're going to be loved and used.
Exactly. I'm sure it's so hard for people to let go and like just, or especially if you have to throw it away, you feel like you're wasting it somehow. But do you have partnerships with people that you donate items to?
So we do. We normally ask our clients if they have a preferred charitable organization they like to donate to. But depending on the client, sometimes they'll say, oh, Goodwill is fine, or we'll do a major pickup with like Habitat for Community or something. But we really love giving to like infant crisis services and to Dress for Success and local domestic shelters, local homeless shelters, where they're going to reuse those for the clients that they serve, or they'll be resold to help the clients that they serve in particular. So that's really great.
I love it. Freaking wholesome. Like it's just all the way around. Like the whole thing is just so good. Oh man. So leading into that, about the charitable organizations, are there local nonprofits that you're involved with, or charitable organizations that you work with and deal with outside of the business that you're passionate about?
So we have not worked with them yet, but I recently spoke with, and I'm going to get the name wrong probably, but I believe it's Home and Heart. And they do like interior design work for people that they have to apply, and for people that are needing new home furniture decor, things like that, or like a makeover after they do a lot for like single moms or people who are who have been homeless and they're in a new space. So I love their mission. I think it's called Home and Heart Makeovers. Pretty sure that's what that's called. But they are really tremendous. And so we've recently spoken with them about partnering with them on volunteering our time to help with those projects. And then just one of the places that we donate to often that I really enjoy is a thrift store in Norman called Outreach Thrift Store. And they're on 24th. It's right in front of the Walmart on the east side of town. But their sales, a portion of their sales go to a domestic violence home that's there in Norman. And they also have those women come in and shop for things there for free. So we really, really enjoy donating to them and getting to use them when we're in the more Norman area to donate from different clients.
That's fantastic. I love that businesses can be exposed and partner with for-profit and not-for-profit and make such a wonderful synergy together. So that's awesome. All right. Well, what else? What's something? What's a Megan story? What's the story that kind of keeps popping back up that seems to really define you?
Gosh, I don't know. Like outside of business or?
Yeah, outside of business. What do you find that your friends and family see? What's that lean in moment? You've got those stories that, nobody wants to hear from me about marketing or when I was a nurse, or they want to hear about when I weighed almost 300 pounds, or those are like the what? What's your what story?
Oh, I don't know that. I mean, I'm sure that I do, but I don't feel like I have one. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, that's probably the most brazen thing that I've done is go into business for myself.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm always open to new adventures.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like what's Megan up to now?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I mentioned that we lived in Nashville for a year, and so
Yeah.
my husband and I both are just very open to new and different opportunities. When does the podcast come out?
It's probably within the next month.
Okay, so I was trying to see like what's safe to say. So like our biggest one is we are working towards moving to Vermont. So cross country, and that's kind of our MO. Like we moved to Guthrie somewhat on a whim to pursue a better educational opportunity for our kids. And that's just what we do. And like when we had kids, I originally went back to work, and then we were just like, nope, that's the wrong call. Like whatever it is, so I quit my job without, knowing what was next or what was coming, and because that was the best thing for us. And so now the next thing on the horizon for us is this move that we're pursuing to Vermont. Somewhat for our kids, but for us as a family. And it's just a whole new situation and way of life. And the business will stay here as well. So my team will continue being one less stressed here. And then there may be a one less stress Vermont as well whenever we get there. So
that speaks volumes to what you've been able to put into place over these since 2017 with building your team and being able to, I think that's every entrepreneur's dream, is to be able to step out and the business continues to run. And that delegating that you've been able to let go of that tight grip on is allowing you the freedom to move to Vermont or wherever you want to live. I love it. That's fantastic. What freedom that we can have in business ownership. So that's awesome. So let's see, what would you say was kind of I know you already said that you wanted to, or that it was tough to let go of the delegation, but has there been a moment of failure where you thought, oh, this was not going to work?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's still ups and downs in our business, but there, especially, in the first 2 or 3 years, there was just like these long pauses of nothing, no work coming in, no inquiries or anything like that. And it was just like, oh, I picked the wrong thing. Like this is gonna, not be something that can continue, or there's always a lot of self-doubt or imposter syndrome or things like that, where I see, new people coming onto the scene all the time, it seems like, of new organizers, and especially with the shows that are coming out more about organizing. And so more people are aware that, this is a business and I can do it, which is fantastic. And it really does speak to the whole as organizing, everywhere. And of course, the more people that know about it, the better it is for all of us. But I think so often that imposter syndrome kind of comes in and goes, well, but not you, not this
Yeah.
time, not,
Yeah.
like, why are you, any better or different or whatever that is. And so that is a massive thing, I think, if an entrepreneur has not experienced that, like, they're extremely gifted in confidence. But that's a really big thing, that no matter how many years that I've been in business, it creeps in every so often. It's like, oh, it's just all going to go away, or it's not, there's going to be, that person's going to be bigger and better, or doing bigger and better things. And fighting that your own mind about those things is one of the really big things. Yeah.
How have you used your psychology degree and experience to tell our listeners, how do we get over that? Because I know I feel it, you feel it, they feel it. You've obviously been able to have a successful business for 5 years, able to step out and potentially even move to another state with it still running. So you've got a good thing going. How do we get over that negative self-talk and just do the thing? It's so easy to say, just do the thing, but
right.
it's so hard.
Yes, it's a lot of introspection. It's a lot of learning about yourself and your own personality. And I think any tool, I always want to learn more about myself, or how my mind works. And so any tool that's like, personality related, like Enneagram, or I can't think of what the other one is called. I can tell you what I am in it. Myers-Briggs, or like the DISC assessment, or any of those things. Like, those are so valuable, because they not only tell you like where you're kind of coming from, but like why your mind goes there, and can often like tell you things of like, okay, how do we get back out of that? And then the other side of that is investing in myself over and over and over and over again. So whether that looks like, hiring a business coach, an accountability coach, going on retreats with other business people, being in masterminds, like, I have to have that in my business to fight back against those ideas, because having those other people pour into me, and that third party who just sees you, the overview of you and your business, and knows what you're capable of, is extremely invaluable. And networking with other people that are like-minded with you, and they're going to, being a part of those kinds of groups, and getting that feedback is going to be what helps you fight that thing, and being as self-aware as you possibly can. So that's been the biggest way to fight back against that.
That's so good. For me, coming from private industry, I was a registered nurse for many years, and took off almost a decade due to my own health. And when I came into business ownership, I had no idea these things that you just talked about existed. I had no idea there were masterminds and other, networking. Why would I want to go to a networking group and meet someone that's not my neighbor, my friend, my family, or someone I go to church with? Why would I want to do that? I don't know these people. Right. Why do I want to talk to them? I don't even know what networking was. So yeah, for anyone out there thinking about starting your own business, take the advice of Megan here. Get yourself connected with mastermind groups, networking groups. Get yourself in front of people and tell them what you do. Take that leap of faith. No one knows. How are we going to expect people to do business with us if they don't even know we are even thinking about starting a business? It's a scary step to take, but connecting yourself with those people who see you how you really are. I was in a mastermind for branding here about a few months ago in Dallas, and one of the speakers said, "It's not what I think about me. It's not what you think about me. It's what I think you think about me that matters." And I went, wait a minute. Now he's onto something. We have these things, these stories we tell ourselves in our head, like, I'm disorganized. I'll never have a pantry that looks like Megan's. All these things we just say over and over to ourselves. that's what matters to our brains, and that's not what really matters, and that's not how others see us.
Absolutely.
So, well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today, Megan. I appreciate it so much. Where can our listeners find you if they need organization and one less stress in their life? How do they connect with Megan Rogers?
So our website is www.onelessstressok.com.
Right.
And then we're on socials at that as well. So at One Less Stress OK on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. We don't do the TikToks yet.
We're all easing into the TikTokies, I think.
We're just learning reels, so it's slow.
Yes, I'm right there with you. All right. Well, you've given me so much value today, Megan. Is there any questions that I could answer for you about marketing, or any tips that you're looking for, or anything that could maybe help you that I could give?
Sure. Let's see. So outside of the socials, like what are the top marketing things that you tell clients to make sure that they're taking part in or they're visible on?
Well, first of all, a website. You've got that, which is great. Gone are the days that being listed in the phone book and word of mouth was enough. Right. Because even when we receive a verbal referral from someone we already know, like, and trust, 99% of people are going to head straight to the internet and check out those reviews. They're going to look at the website. They're going to look at the reviews. So just being there, first of all, is key. And then, of course, your socials. But the number one thing that business owners can invest in for their long-term is SEO, as it relates to the digital space, that search engine optimization, which is something that you pay into for a long time. It takes a long time, but eventually it ranks. And that being a top-ranked website on Google is the best thing you can do, because we can all run ads, but ads are like a light switch. We turn them on, leads come in, we turn them off, and all the money we poured into those ads is lost. We don't get to keep anything for that effort. So search engine optimization and doing things on your own, like on your website, if you have a blog, write articles that answer the questions that people are asking about your industry. Like the question I asked you today, what's one easy thing? Put out a blog article about 3 steps you can take to feel more organized today. Things like that. People that are asking those questions, because all search engine optimization is putting out, well, not all it is, but a big part of it is putting out content that answers questions that Google searchers are asking. So a blog or content on your website that's talking about your industry, that's answering questions about your industry, giving free resources to people can take you a long way. And then just making sure that all of your local listings are the same across all the platforms. So your Google My Business listings, the Yelp, all those things, having the exact same name, address, and phone number across the board creates that brand consistency. So that's something that you could do on your own to help things out. Well, I appreciate you so much for joining us on Queen's Lead.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. We are so proud to be shining a light on women that are making a difference in their business, their communities, and their industries. And it is time that the creators and influencers and the doers of this world, which I feel like are greatly women, be highlighted and be shown upon. So thank you so much for being my guest, Megan. And we will direct everyone to your website at onelessstressok.com. Reach out to Megan. What's your phone number, Megan, if people want to call?
405-210-0342.
All right. You heard it here on Queen's Lead. We are happy to have Megan Rogers with One Less Stress or Professional Organizing in Oklahoma City, and potentially coming to you in Vermont soon.
Thanks so much, Amy. Had a great time.
Thank you so much. You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.